Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You are welcome to CCMD podcast. My name is Dele Akanle, and I have with me here my lovely and beautiful wife. I won't allow her to introduce herself. She's my wife, and I'm going to introduce her myself today. She's my own. I'm proud of her. Married for 33 years, still looking as beautiful as ever. So the very first day I set eyes upon her. So I'm here with her with my lovely sweetheart, Toyin Akanle. All right, baby, you want to say hello to somebody out there?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to CCMD podcast. We hope you're doing great, and we know it's going to be an interesting time today.
Oh, yes, we've been off here for quite a while. It's just because of one or two things, but we promise you from now on, we'll be consistently coming on to you. So, once again, you are welcome. Please, we want to hear from you your suggestions, your questions, your observation, and whatever you want us to do. We'd love it to be interactive. We want to hear your opinion. I want to hear your own perspective on what we're about to talk about. So today we want to set the ball rolling. And one of the things we want to talk about today is managing expectation. We've been talking about marriage for some time. And today we want to look at how to manage expectation. All right, let me leave it for my lovely wife to set the ball rolling. Managing expectation, where do we start? Do we start with those who are trusting, who are about to get married? You said something the other day, you said intending. I think we should start from there.
Yes, it's very important because if you know that you will need to manage expectations when you do get married, then you prepare for it. But, I just think we should piggyback a bit on some of the things we spoke since we've not been able to broadcast for a while. Now, we talked about the fact that there are realistic and unrealistic expectations in marriage. And this doesn't just start in one day. This starts before people get married. Before a man gets married to a woman or vice versa, they start thinking of what do they want in marriage. So if you look at it, expectation by itself is not bad. Everybody on the surface of the earth has one expectation or the other. Either to be able to feed themselves, what to do with life, what they expect people to do to them. So expectation, like we said the last time, by itself is not bad. It is just that there are some expectations that are not attainable because they are not realistic. And there are some expectations that, of course, they're a breeze. And we also talked about expectation being, not constant. Expectations can change. It can evolve.
That's right.
It can evolve because look at it when you get married and things begin to happen. Natural things in marriage, there's a tendency for your expectation to change in that marriage. And so I think those are some of the things we are also going to talk about today. And we are going to look at how to tackle them, And that's why we know that one of the things that, as pastors, we know that one of the things that really affects marriages is not being able to handle or to manage expectations.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's why we want to talk about this, not just to leave it out there that some expectations are realistic. And even realistic expectations, if you don't manage it properly, it could cause problem in the home. Yeah, so for those who are fairly new in marriage, we said up to 4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years,
And for those who have even been married before and still are finding some things difficult, and for those who are planning to get married, it's good for you to know how to manage expectation. What do you think?
Yes, I think you are right because I love the fact that you said expectation is natural. As a matter of fact, anybody who wants to go into marriage, you carry it along with you.
Carry it along,
I even see it as part of it's either could be a baggage in the marriage or it could be an asset you bring in to the marriage.
That's true.
So expectation is very, very important. You should have it. You should be part of what you look forward to in the marriage. But just like you said, you must not be hung on it, because some will be met, some will not be met. So, having said that, we would like to share with you how to prepare for those expectations when they are met and when they are not met. I think let's just talk with those who are intending for. So you are looking forward
Yeah.
to getting married, or maybe you have chosen a date, you are ready, or maybe you are contemplating. I would like to marry that lady. I would like to marry that gentleman, and you're looking forward to certain things. Oh, when we get married, I expect him to be the sole provider of the family. Some ladies have that in mind. Well, not too many ladies nowadays, but that can happen.
Yeah.
I expect him to be, or I expect the lady to be a helper. So, what area are you expecting? Is in the area of finance? Is in the area of house chores? Is in the area of decision making and all those stuff? So, those are the things we want to look at today. So, maybe what area do you think we should tackle first? How about you said there's some that are just breeze. Can we look at start from there and then see how we'll flow along?
Yeah, I mean, there are some expectations that it's like a breeze
Breeze, yeah.
for you. I mean, when I get married, the expectation is that my husband will take care of me, even though I do not believe that everything should be on his neck, but he will take care of of me and the children when they come. And I have not seen a man who do not want to take care of the family and the children. The expectation that, oh, I'm a man when I'm married now, my wife would at least be able to cook for us to eat.
Yeah.
Those are expectations that they are natural. And there are people I've met somebody before and they are still alive. They are elderly, they are still alive. That the woman doesn't even know how to shop. The woman doesn't know how to cook. The man knew this, and that wasn't part of his expectation. He will go buy the meat, buy everything, shop for the house, and he will cook. And he did not destroy that. Those people are elderly now. He didn't destroy the home because this has not been his expectation since he knew before getting into the marriage that, my wife doesn't do this, not because she doesn't want to, but she never learned to do it. And I mean, don't judge nobody. You never know the reason why the person did not learn to do it. So those kind of things helps to manage expectation. But if you know that your wife is not the cooking type, is not the one that is domesticated that way, maybe because the mother was not in the life of that young person when the person was much younger, you can't fault her for that. You have to determine during the time of courtship if you are able to go along with this or not. That is how to manage expectation even before you get married.
That's right.
That is, I have to consider this. If my wife can't cook because she doesn't want to, am I able to bear? Would I love to cook? I know my husband loves to cook. He's a great cook. I must tell you that.
Oh, yes.
But when we got married, this is a man that cooks for himself before we got married. He knows he has a wife now, and he expects me to be able to make the food, and I do. And the times that I don't, even not because, anything, he can come up at times and say, I'm cooking today, baby.
Yeah.
You just relax. So his expectation, already he knows I can cook. So that's his expectation, and it was met. But if you see some things in your intending that will not be met during marriage, you need to reconsider. Can I stay in this marriage?
Exactly.
Is this going to split us?
Will I be able to?
Would I be able to bear? If not, you need to sit and talk about it.
Yes.
During the days of courtship.
That's right.
And when you talk about it, doesn't make the other person bad. It just makes you understand more who this person is. And that's what the period of courtship is. And so when you do get married, you know where to place your expectation concerning some certain things.
Yeah. So that in essence, what we're saying is, so if you are going to marriage now, then you must be ready to compromise.
Yes.
If you want to manage your expectation very well, you must be
You must be
ready
ready to.
to
Yes.
compromise.
That's very true.
Like just like the example you gave, if the wife can't cook very well, for whatever reason, and you cook very well, it's for the happiness of the family.
Exactly.
So you should be able to compromise and say, all right, that's part of my wife's weakness. That's part of my wife's shortcoming, and that's what she's bringing to the marriage. And we're supposed to complement each other. I mean, personally, that's me as a man. Some men may not agree with it. Personally, I don't see it as a weakness if it is the man that does the cooking in the family and the lady does cook. I mean, as long as he enjoys it, and as long as the lady doesn't feel otherwise.
Yeah.
So we're talking about compromise, and of course, the compromise is unique to both of you.
It is.
Because I've seen some lady who they are very uncomfortable. If it has to be the man who keeps doing cooking,
Chores.
some chores in the house, she might feel, oh, that means I'm inadequate. I'm not a good wife. No, that doesn't mean. So the compromise is important. So that's one of the things we want you to consider. Anytime you're going to marriage, please be ready to compromise
Yeah.
when it comes to expectation, because your expectation may not be 100% met.
It might not be mine.
Do you understand? So you must be ready to compromise for the best of both the couples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very important to understand that, because if you understand that when those situations arises, you will know that this is what I'm not going to fight about this. I'm not going to fuss about this. I'm just going to give some room for my spouse to be able to make some adjustments. And honestly, when we talk about expectations, you know, marriage is not like before. During my time, the way people get married is a bit different from now. And I quite understand that. As long as nothing changes in the word of God concerning marriage, in your marriage, that's okay. And what I'm trying to say is that when you're courting, it's good to do a SWOT analysis. It's very important in managing expectation. We might think doing SWOT analysis is only for places of work, but it's not. But because when you consider the strength you've seen in this person you're cutting, the weaknesses, you have looked at how does a person react to opportunities and maybe opposition and things that comes that are like hindrances, then you would know how to be able to live with such a person. Because if you have somebody and you know the weakness of the person, you help the person try to change. And if not, you can talk about it and you see what to do going on. So it's very important for us to talk about what are the things that makes people come up with some expectations. And when they come up with those expectations, why are they not met or actualized?
Yeah, a lot of people, they bring expectations to marriage out of experiences. Maybe what they've experienced in their own home, maybe with their parents, maybe what they've seen with their mentors, people they look up to.
Yeah, true.
I mean, some, which I believe is wrong, maybe through books, novels, movies, and whatever. And they expect that in the marriage. But the thing is this, every marriage is unique.
Every marriage is unique.
Your marriage cannot be like the marriage of your parents.
No.
My parents had a good marriage. I mean, in all sense. But my marriage is quite different from that. For example, my mom was a stay-at-home mom all through, and she took care of 8 children. And my father expects her to do almost everything. But here is my wife. We both work, and it's not as if I don't expect her to cook, do all the house chores and whatever. And she was doing it. And at the same time, she was taking care of me. So one day I told myself, I said, this is not fair on this woman. Will I wear her out? So I have to compromise, like we said.
Yeah.
And I remember I told her, I said, baby, okay, listen, there's certain things I will pick up in the house. I will do those things. It's not as if you don't do it, but I still come up
Yeah.
and do those things.
It makes me happy though.
Exactly.
It makes
So
me more relaxed.
maybe in that area, your expectation was met in the sense that, okay, I have a supportive husband, a supportive partner. One area also that has let me back up. In that case, when you bring those things into marriage, then there must be a balance.
There must be.
There must be a balance between your own expectation and your spouse's because it can clash.
Of course.
It can clash because you can come in and say, "No, my friend's husband, all my friends, what they do to their what the husbands do for the wives, yeah, that's what I want in my marriage."
Nah, it doesn't always work.
It doesn't always work like that.
Always
So like you said, the SWOT analysis is very good. I mean, not that you have to take a paper
No,
and let your spouse know, yeah, this is what I'm watching you. No, but the SWOT analysis, I would like to use a plain word for that. Observe.
Observe, yes.
Observe your
Yes.
partner's strength,
Observe.
weaknesses,
Observe.
and all those stuff. So it will help you
Yeah.
to make informed decision. Because the truth is this, you can't like everything you're going to encounter in your marriage.
Exactly.
So it will make you to make up your mind. This is this person's weakness. I'm ready to live with it. I'm ready to compromise.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
So
very important.
very important. So let's talk about balance. I think it's one of area where you can use to manage expectation, balance what you look forward to with what you see.
Yeah, when you talk about balance, it just takes us back to compromise.
Compromise, yes.
It takes us back to compromise in marriage. And when we talk about compromise, we're not talking about it in a bad way here.
Exactly.
We're not saying that a man should be beating you or a woman should be maltreating you and you just say, oh, I'm going to compromise. No, that's not what we're saying.
Or even controlling.
Controlling.
Yeah.
But the balance is that if you see your spouse trying, you need to respect that and meet your spouse halfway. It's very, very important.
Yeah.
And meet your spouse halfway. You might be the kind of person that come from a home whereby the man does everything. The man takes care of everything. And here you are in another setting completely, whereby things are not as rosy as in your own home. And you still expect the man to take care of everything, then, or the woman to take care of everything, then you're not being realistic. The balance there is that you have to observe, like my husband has just said, to see that, okay, this man or this woman needs help.
Yeah.
And if this man or this woman is doing this much, let me also meet him halfway, or more than halfway. Let me also do my part. Let me do my best. Let me use that word. Maybe not halfway.
Yeah.
Your best might be more than halfway.
Yeah.
Let me do my best in making sure this situation, this circumstance doesn't overwhelm this person. And so when you begin to, for instance, when we're talking about bills, when people talk about bills and stuff like that, when you see that that man, that woman is walking on that under the weight of the bill, you can come up and say, why don't I take care of this? Why don't we put our resources together so that we can have more? But if you hold on to the fact that, no, that was how my father did everything for my mom.
Exactly.
Oh, my mom was so rich, so my mom did everything in our house, because it can be on both sides. It's equal opportunity. If you hold on to that, there's going to be a problem in that home.
Exactly.
But if you are able to come, put in your best also and meet this gentleman or this lady, at your best, you find out that you'll be more appreciated.
Yeah.
And you will not be disappointed. That is why we say that expectations evolve.
They do.
You came into it with a set mind. If you come into a marriage with a set expectation, but you see that it's not going to work, compromising, changing is the way that you create balance in that expectation.
Yeah, let me add to that. When you said the word change, it just popped up into my mind. That means also to manage expectation as you are planning to get married, you must be ready to adjust.
Yes.
That's very important. You must be
Very important.
ready to really, really adjust. When we say adjust, that means you have to adjust to your partner. I mean, for example, if both of you are going to live up to, and I know you guys pray to live up to 100 years or more, and then that means your marriage is going to be about 80 years. You better be ready to adjust. So adjusting is also one very, very important thing. To be honest, there's a lot of things that I do when I was single that I told myself I can't do when I'm married.
Exactly.
No, because I'm not living for myself anymore. I'm living for both of us. And I know there's a lot of things also you do when you're single. But now since we're married, you just have to adjust.
Just have to adjust.
Yes, and we're not saying you adjust to please your partner. No, to adjust to make both of you to be happy. Yes. It's very important. So for you, if you want to make balance, compromise your expectation, then you must be prepared.
You must be prepared. Adjust. Yes, you must be prepared.
And like you said, that expectation evolves, so you must be ready to adjust to it also. Yes. What if let's just give an example. The husband, I want a husband that has a steady job, a steady work, and all this, blah, 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 blah. And then you get it quite all right. But what if he loses his job?
Exactly.
3 months, 6 months, 2 years down the road. You just have to adjust. Because I've seen a lady who, she picked up the baton rather. Mm-hmm. And then she began to fend for the family while the husband is hunting for a job here and there for 2-3 years. Yeah. And the woman stood so strong. And I remember the gentleman was telling me, he said, Pastor, I can do anything for this woman, because during the period of my inadequacy, she stepped up and nobody noticed. So that is part of adjustment. So you can't just be dogged and say, no, you are the head of the home. You must provide for this family. You must go out job hunting.
It won't work.
It won't work.
It won't work.
So you must be ready to adjust when issues arise in the marriage. Now, we've been talking about those who want to get married. How about the young couples? You just step into marriage, 2 months, 2 years, and then all of a sudden you find out, well, this is not what I bargained for. This is not what I was looking for. This is what I saw during courtship, but this is not what I see. During courtship, you are very supportive. You're always there. You always listen to me. But now, what has changed? So how?
It's interesting, because honestly, as we talk about that, I have to go back to talk about a little bit more about when you're courting, because some of the expectations, disappointments in marriages is because people do not take time to observe. Like my husband said, observe. You have to be able to observe, not only when you get into the marriage, before you get into the marriage. A lot of people get married to people who are very angry, and those telltale signs are there before they got married. That's the truth. I know that things can come and that can happen and change people, but most times some traits people now see in marriage after they get married start from before they get married. So as somebody who is intending to get married and you are courting, you need to do what? You need to be observant when you're courting. You go to a restaurant with you're intending, and the bartender makes a little bit of mistake, and that person, either the male or the female, shouts the house down. I beg your pardon, shouts the house down, explodes. Be very careful, because that can happen to you. Don't overlook it or even side him and say, oh, she deserves it, he deserves it. No. You need to find out why that person went from 0 to 100 so that you know what you are going into. And when you find out during those periods, you can encourage the person to seek counseling, to get help, and so many other things. If somebody that you're courting, or does not support your dreams, your aspirations, that person is going to tell you to sit. Even though you want to go and become a career person, the person is going to tell you to sit when you get married. And you don't want to lose your marriage, and that's why some people just settle and say, that's it. And inside they are dying. Inside they are not happy because that wasn't their intention. So it's good. I can go on to give examples, but honestly, let me just say it here. You can get my books on singles in preparation. You'll find out how you should prepare for marriage and what to look out for. But when it comes to married people, especially people who are not so far into marriage, if you don't manage expectations, that's why people come and say, oh, the first few years of marriage was very difficult because we're trying to understand ourselves. Yes, there's room and there's need to understand yourself, but when you manage expectations, it will be easier. I mean, like my husband said, I call him Pastor Darling. Like that. So when you see me shift from my husband to Darling to Pastor, please understand with me. Like he said, you can bring the expectations from based on what you've seen outside marriage, other people's marriage, even if it's your parents, your siblings, your friends. If you bring it into your own marriage, it might cause a bit of a problem. Because you have to remember that whoever you're getting married to, you people have different backgrounds.
Yes.
You did not live in the same, you did not grow up in the same house. You were not raised by the same parents. So you have different backgrounds. And the way they do things in your own home might be different from the way they do things in that person you're going to get married home. It's very, very important to know that. Yeah. So when you know that, you'll be able to deal with the fact that there are going to be differences. Not like in fight. There are going to be differences in culture, maybe in communication. And that's what you begin to work on during your courtship time, so that when you now come into marriage, you now understand that, oh, they do this in Toyin's house, they don't do that in Dele's house.
Exactly.
They do it different in Dele's house. So that way it will help you. Another thing I want to say is that it is not every time that you complain about your expectation not being met. Because if you expect that the man or the woman is going to be everything to you and is not, you need to begin to understand that there are things that this spouse of mine is good in, even though that is not my expectation. So what do you do with that? You appreciate and celebrate the good you see in your spouse first, before you begin to talk about things that expectations that were not met. I remember as a young minister's wife, honestly, let me just use this example. As a young minister's wife, we had gone to meet with the head of our mission. We call her Mommy Gio, We had gone to meet with her, and she was telling us how we should, further reference our husband, like respect them and not bash them. And she used an example of when her husband has preached in those early days, and she sees some things that she feels are not right. She doesn't say it immediately. Yeah. They will get home, she will cook for him, praise him for doing a good job. I mean, God bless him and everything. And later, she will now say, oh, if you had said it this way, if you had said it that way. Now the man will not be upset, or the woman will not be upset. They will think about what you have told them. But if you continue to bash them about not meeting the expectation you have brought into the marriage, then everybody has a level of ego. You're going to completely hurt their feelings, and they feel discounted, like you don't appreciate them. So my advice to young people is that when you see that your expectations are not being met in your marriage, find a way to find what is good in your spouse. Appreciate it, celebrate it, and then you can also find a very subtle way and a very encouraging way to bring what those things you expect to that person, and let the person see that maybe I can do better. But if you keep being forceful and bashful about it, oh no, that person is going to say, you know what, deal with it. Yes. This is who I am.
Yes, talking about young couples, 2, 3, 4, 5 years into marriage, and then let me just say this so that, because I want us to also talk about not only managing expectation about your partner or spouse. How about yourself in the marriage? We'll get there, but I want to just make a comment on young couples. Suddenly you find out your expectation is not met and you are disappointed, because disappointment is a big issue in marriages. And then you stop giving your best. You stop putting an input into the happiness of that relationship. How should they deal with disappointment? Because disappointment will come from time to time. It will always come as a husband, as a wife, probably as a mother. Maybe they now have children. So disappointment will come. I thought he was a nice gentleman. Now we have two kids. I expect him to be able to at least handle one of the child while I'm taking care of this child. The other one is crying. I expect him, or I expect I'm paying for the school fees, so I expect her to also chip in, and in all those areas. So you can be disappointed.
Yeah.
What I would just say is this to young couples, you've mentioned it, just appreciate one another. Appreciate one another. Aside from the fact that give your best, do your best, still learn to appreciate one another. Disappointment in marriage can cause a break in that marriage. I would like to say this. I mean, this is my own perception, particularly for Christian marriages. The choice you made, as long as it doesn't involve violence, the choice is made is the best choice for you. So I would just encourage you, stick with it. Because whatever disappointment will always come from time to time, from
Yeah.
one state to the other, from one level to another. So you must know how to manage your disappointment. And that's why I like that analogy you gave of Mommy Gio. Find time to bring it up to your partner. You know what? I'm the only one taking care of this. We have 3 kids,
Very important.
and you are not being a party. You can just help me out. There was one of my pastor friends. He have a couple of kids, and he said he got home. The wife said, "Oh, please, can you help me with one of the child? This one is." He said, "No, no, no, no. I just came back from work. I'm so tired. Please, I just want to. I just want to. I mean, lie down and rest." And then he actually, the one said, "Okay, that's no big deal." And he sat down, and then the telephone rang. And the telephone rang.
Can you imagine?
And then somebody said, "Oh, Pastor, this so blah, 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 blah." He said he put on his shoes and he was ready to go out. He said, but at the door, he told himself, "Are you crazy? You can't do this for your own child, but you have strength for others." So he said he had to come back, and then make amends in the family. So I think that's a good way to manage disappointment. The lady did not blow her top. She did not accuse him, but eventually they sort it out. And so I think disappointment comes in when you are married and the expectation is not met. So how about expectation from you as a person? Some will be met, some will not be met. I When I was getting married, what I expect to the kind of husband, father I expect to be is not what I am right now. Not by any design. Not that I'm not a good husband, a good wife, but I wish I could do more.
Well, I believe, I sincerely believe that, as far as I'm concerned, and the children, the young men can say it. You're a good father to us, you're a good husband.
Yeah, but I wish I could do more.
But that's what we're talking about. Expectations evolve and changes. When we got married, I did not know you're going to be a pastor.
Oh, yeah.
That was the farthest thing from our mind, that you were going to be a pastor.
That's it.
But becoming a pastor has its own, it has its own bearing on people. Yeah. I'm not talking about maybe negatively, but there are some things you have to sacrifice also. And a lot of times you find out that there's no way you be a pastor, like a lead pastor, a senior pastor of a church, that you would not have to sacrifice some things in your home. Yeah. Not your relationship with your family, but you might not be able to give as much time as you would have given. And honestly, to every pastor's wife listening out there, don't kick yourself or your husband for this, because that's part of the expectations that can evolve. Now, you didn't plan for that when you got married. Now he is what God has called him to be. How do you begin to manage that expectation? Number one, you have to understand that just like the job that people takes, God also gives people job. And that's where we have pastors, and they have to do what God has called them to do. Now, it doesn't mean that it should be neglected. No, because I wasn't. But you have to understand that his schedule is going to be different from what it used to be. Maybe it was a 9 to 5 jobber before. But now as a pastor, he likes work like a doctor on call. Apart from the Sundays, there are people that will call him any time of the day, and he still has to be able to meet their needs because that's what his job contains. But you just have to understand, and you have to create. You create avenues, you create opportunities to be able to spend time with one another. That's it. It's not that it's not doable. It is very, very doable. We still go on dates. We still go to restaurants. We still go to watch shows. It's been a while we went to watch the show. We have to set up one. We still go to watch shows. And,
you're right.
I
remember when before we became full scale, let me put that, full scale pastors, we eat out a lot.
Yeah.
A lot, virtually almost every day. But and that's what I expect of myself, because I'm an outdoor person,
Yeah.
So I expect myself to do that. So when I became a pastor, of course, that has to change a little bit, evolve, let's put it that way. That's have to evolve a little bit, from virtually almost every day. It became probably Sundays and then once in a while, Do I feel bad at you sometimes? Yes, I do. But thank God that you understand, the children understand. But let's talk about how about unforeseen challenges. Unforeseen, because definitely it will happen.
Oh yeah, it will happen.
Unforeseen challenges.
It will happen. And that's where, communication comes in.
For both those who are getting married and young women.
Communication is very important when you want to manage expectations. Whatever the situation may be, whatever the unforeseen circumstance may be, when you communicate, when you talk, it would always work out. You might not agree initially when you're communicating, you might not agree initially when you're talking, but the way you talk also is important.
Yeah.
Everyone deserves respect. So talk out of respect, communicate out of respect for one another, no matter how disappointed, no matter how bad you feel. It's always good to take a breather and before you say anything. And it's also good when your spouse approach you that we need to talk. Don't just blow it off and say, you always want to talk. That's some people's way of resolving, things like this. So it's always good to give a listening ear, and it's always good to talk. And when you're talking, the tone of your conversation matters a lot. When somebody say, the way you did this thing, I don't like it. Okay, sorry, it's okay, and you go away. The person knows you are not remorseful. You're not sorry about what you've just done. You just wanted to get out of that conversation. But when you listen, one of the things I've learned from my darling husband is how to listen. Yeah. Oh, as a pastor, I think that has always been his nature to listen, and then becoming a pastor added to it. He would listen and hear you out very well. And from there, you will be able to communicate. You'll be able to deduce what a person is trying to tell you. You'll be able to read between the lines, the emotions involved in this, from the body language. But if you are somebody that your spouse is talking and you jump into it, you won't be able to read the body language or the emotions involved. From there, then you can talk. And honestly, communication solves a lot of things. There are always wow moments when you communicate. There are always, so that's what is going on moment when you communicate. And I always tell people, nobody is a mind reader.
Yeah.
No one is a mind reader. That your spouse is not going to be able to read your mind, except you talk, except you communicate. Your spouse will not know what you are talking, what is going on, what is causing that expectation not to be met. You know, some people would wait for things to happen and then they'll communicate. It's okay, because when things happen unexpectedly, the only thing you can do so that you don't lose your mind is to communicate, to
Yeah,
talk about it.
let me add to
You
that.
know.
Even when there are unforeseen situations, for both those who are intending to get married and for those who are married, not even only young marriage, even any marriage for that matter,
Yeah.
you must be ready to sacrifice. Because unforeseen situations or circumstances can change dynamics
It can.
of the marriage.
It can.
It can completely. I mean, it can be a 180-degree turnaround.
It
So
can.
you must be ready to sacrifice. For example, when we got married, you remember, and then all of a sudden, out of the blues, the pastor said we've prayed, and we noticed that both you and your wife, you are fit to go on mission field. The first thing that came to my mind was, well, I can go, that's no big deal, but how about my wife? I mean, she has a career she's pursuing in the financial world. She has company she's running. And I thought about it, and I told myself, all right, this is what we're going to do. I will go to Kenya. You will stay in Nigeria, pursue your career, and then I may see to the growth of your businesses. And I'll be going and coming. And I can't forget one night you woke up and said, well, wherever you're going, I'm going. I mean, it's a huge sacrifice.
Yeah.
So sometimes unforeseen situations, in our own case, it was a good one.
It was a good one.
It was a call.
Some of them might not be that good.
Some of them are good.
Things do happen. Yeah.
But still, it still involves sacrifice.
It does.
Whether it's good, whether it's bad. Maybe all of a sudden, one partner gets paralyzed. What are you going to do? So you must be ready to sacrifice. I've seen couples ask themselves, say, honey, what if I have dementia? What's going to happen?
It's a question everybody needs to ask their spouse.
Because I know there's one university president in South Carolina or whatever. The man resigned because the wife had dementia. He resigned from there and said, I'm going home. I want to stay with my wife and take care of my wife because I've told my wife when we were young that I will stay with her. So you must also be ready to sacrifice for your marriage. Don't say, I have to build my career. By all means. I have to build my ministry. By all means. Your first ministry, like we said, is your marriage, is your home.
Marriage, yes, it's your home. It's your home. It's very, very important to know that sacrifice is great in everything. Even when people start having, when you get married, you don't have children, but when you start having children, things can change, and that can change your expectations too. I mean, we heard about the story of a pastor who was so tired, and the wife said, I said, look, I just want to rest. Now the children have come. Maybe it was one child before. Now there are two children, and it's become a bit more. So when you have expectations of yourself and of your spouse, you must know that things like childbearing can actually remodel, or change that expectation. It's very important. And that's not the time you start forcing, I mean, I can't go out with my husband again. Yeah, it might be for a little while, because when you first have a child, your body also needs to recuperate, not only the baby. And when the baby is young, you don't want to be taking the baby everywhere. Yeah. So your husband might be able to go out maybe without you. And some husbands or wife just say, let's stay together. And that's a compromise. They agree. But it is not the time to force or to fight.
Yeah.
It's the time to understand that there's something new happening in this person's life. Now, honestly, some way of life changed for me after the COVID, the coronavirus. Because I've always wanted to be able to do more of going away for, what do they call it, retreats and all other that than we do. And during the COVID period, I found out that I could do a retreat every day. As long as I make sure I put everything in place for my family, take care of, I could do a retreat every day. And it stayed with me till today. As I'm talking, my husband can bear witness. I do what you call lockdowns, So that changed things for me. Now I know that there are expectations of me from my children and my husband. What do? I go ahead and plan ahead of time. If you want to manage expectation, preparation and planning is a big part of it. I plan ahead of time and I make sure that nobody suffers anything, and I still get my time to do that.
Yeah.
So situations, circumstance, even nice things in the home can change, and age changes our expectations.
It does. It does. Also.
It changes our expectations.
All right.
How has age changed your expectation from?
It has.
I mean, for me,
No,
what do you expect from me? How has age changed it?
no. To be honest, I've not seen any change since we got married. To be honest, you've been this, and I'm not flattering you. It's just the truth. You've been the same person that I've known even before we said I do. May 8th, 1983. I have to say that so that I don't forget our anniversary.
Okay.
So I have not seen any change. You've been the same dynamic, a goal getter. And that's one of the things that attracted me to you. So, but what if it changes? It wouldn't change my perception about you. But even at this age, I've not seen it change. You're still aspiring more and more, and to God, I'm grateful for that.
That's
what I'm
great.
saying.
That's
Yeah.
great. That's great.
Yeah.
So can I tell you what some of the things I've seen change in you?
In me? Oh,
Yes.
all right.
You've not changed too, honestly, but some of the things I've seen change in you is the fact that, you used to have some very set way of doing things.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Now I'm a routine person.
you're a routine person. You're still a routine person. But I noticed that when it comes to your family, the children soften you up a little bit more.
Okay.
I mean, when they were younger, but as they grew up, I could see that some of those, the way it has to be done, the routine thing has really calmed down, which is good. And I still like the way that you're a routine person because it lets us get a lot of things done. Yes, my husband is a doer and he likes to get things done, and he has a spirit of excellence, the gift of excellence. He doesn't like politics. I mean, people playing politics. He loves to see people prosper, and he loves the good in people. And that has not changed. From the time we were on the mission field, I noticed that in you when somebody condemned everybody, and then you said, no, this is still a child of God, and it's still what you still do today. So I really like in that in you. And I can say in myself, one of the things that have changed for me, myself, is the fact that I always tell myself, because growing up, I was somebody that loved to dance, and I love fashion, I love to travel, I love to read. There are so many things. I love to meet people. And one of the things that have changed a bit in me is that I say this on a lighter note. I say it's comfort over fashion. My children knows that. I always say it's comfort over fashion. And so, I mean, as long as I'm comfortable in what I'm wearing these days, I'm good to go.
All right.
That's on a lighter note.
Yeah, that's but changes will always come.
It would always come.
And that's part of the expectation that may not be met or that may be met.
Yeah.
So in essence, what we're saying is to young people who are looking forward to get married. Yes, you have so many expectations. They may come from different sources. But we would like to say you have to understand there's also something called reality. By the time you hit the marriage, rubber meets the road, some of those expectations, they will be met. Probably more of them will be met. But we can guarantee you some of them will not be met.
Yes.
And like we said today, if they're not met, please be ready to compromise. Be ready to change. Be ready to adapt. Be ready to sacrifice. And also be ready to communicate. Talking it over is very good. I mean, we're talking about the right communication.
Yes.
That will help the marriage. But there's one thing you must have in mind. As you're going to marriage, you are part of a team that's creating happiness. And let that be your goal. And we've talked about also when there's unforeseen situations about it. Yes, you have to sacrifice in that. And for those who are young in marriage is not too different from them also. It might be a little bit, dynamics might be a little bit different.
You mean those who are older in marriage?
Older in marriage, yeah. I think the biggest thing there, fact there, is the disappointment. And you must be able to know how to manage it. But there's something you said, maybe that really, really strike me. It's respect.
Respect.
Have respect for each other, even for your weaknesses.
Yeah.
Have respect for your weaknesses. There's some areas that I'm weak, and I know you have respect for me. You don't pick on me on that. You don't bash me on that.
And you don't do the same for me.
I don't do the same thing for you. We'll live on it. So those are how you can manage expectations in the marriage. And the reason why you are managing expectation is for the benefit of everybody. The husband is happy, the wife is happy, and the children also benefit from it. On a lighter note, for example, like I don't like dishes, washing dishes, But one day I just look at myself and say, wait a minute. These boys are going to leave home very soon. It's going to be you and your wife. So you better start practicing now, So occasionally I have to tell myself, if I see the pile of dishes before my wife comes down, I'll quickly go and wash it, I'm training myself, to adapt to change to such situation. And I know very soon I'll get used to it,
I think you have gotten used to it more than before now.
I know I'll get used to it because I don't like, our cooking involves a lot of oil and other stuff.
Yeah.
So I never like that, And one thing is I don't like using gloves, if I want to do the dishes, And I'm not the type, they will have the dishwasher there, but I don't always remember the dishwasher.
That is simply because
No, the way I was brought by my grandparents. So
exactly. I like that you said that because there are so many people that is what is causing the trouble that
Oh yeah.
But
Those little things can cause challenges.
we believe that our hands are faster than dishwashers.
All right.
But the children don't agree. Yeah, so we want to say thank you so much for staying tuned. It's been an awesome time. Honestly, if you have any question, if you have any comment, please leave it in the chat boxes and we will definitely get back to you. We're working on having a live broadcast of of this podcast, and we will let you know so that you can come on and we can discuss these things together. But today we've talked about managing expectations for both young, unmarried, intending, and also those who have been married for a while. Don't ever forget, your home is dynamic. It's different from every other home, so don't compare it. And always remember that respect works a lot of wonder when we show respect to our spouses on both sides. And so when we correct in love, in respect, when we communicate in love and respect, we definitely will get maybe not exactly the result we expect, but we'll get good results from our expectations. So put that in mind, and I'm sure you would have differences in your home when you do that.
All right. Thank you very much. Help us to share this on your social media platforms, and we hope to see you the next time on CCMD. From me, bye.
Bye-bye.